Here is the hard truth. The harder you try to be happy, the more likely you are to fail. Why? The answer lies in a hidden flaw in how our minds work, and it's time to expose it. Happiness isn't what you think it is. In fact, everything we've been taught about it is wrong. Happiness isn't real. Not the way we think of it, at least. Let's start with a universal truth. Happiness often feels fleeting. You land a promotion, buy a new car, or move into your dream home, and for a while, life feels perfect. But then, something strange happens. The excitement fades, and you're back to feeling just okay. This phenomenon isn't random. It's a well-documented psychological concept called the hedonic treadmill. Here's how it works. When something good or bad happens, your happiness level spikes or dips. But over time, your mind adjusts, and you return to your baseline level of happiness. You probably know about lottery winners. Studies show that just a few years after hitting the jackpot, their happiness levels are often no different than before they won. On the flip side, individuals who experience life-changing injuries often report returning to their pre-accident happiness levels. Psychologists believe this adaptation stems from evolution. Our ancestors needed to focus on survival rather than basking in success. So, we're hardwired to always want more, to keep striving, even when it doesn't make us happier. This is the trap. We keep chasing happiness, thinking the next thing will be the one that lasts. But the treadmill keeps moving, and we're stuck running. So, if the hedonic treadmill keeps us running, how to step off? Is it even possible? Here's what's fascinating. Long before psychologists studied happiness, philosophers asked a bigger question. Are we even chasing the right kind of happiness? And their insights are more relevant now than ever. Take Aristotle, for instance. He believed that happiness wasn't about fleeting pleasures, what he called hedonia. Instead, he argued for eudaimonia, a deeper sense of fulfillment that comes from living a virtuous life and realizing your potential. According to Aristotle, true happiness is tied to meaning and purpose, not momentary joy. On the other hand, the Stoics, philosophers like Seneca and Epictetus, had a different approach. They believed that happiness comes from within, through mastering your emotions and living in harmony with nature. To the Stoics, external events didn't determine happiness. Instead, they focused on cultivating virtues like wisdom, courage, and self-control to maintain inner peace, no matter what life throws at you. And then there's the existentialists, who took things in yet another direction. Philosophers like Sartre and Camus suggested that happiness might not even be the point of life. Instead, they argued that creating meaning in a chaotic, indifferent world is what truly matters. What all these perspectives have in common is this. They challenge us to rethink happiness as something more than a fleeting feeling. Instead of chasing external rewards, they ask us to look inward, to find meaning, purpose, and resilience. But here's where things get even more interesting. Modern science has uncovered the mechanisms behind the hedonic treadmill and how we can break it. But what if the way we experience happiness has as much to do with biology as it does with belief? Let's look inside the brain. When it comes to happiness, one chemical often takes center stage: dopamine. Known as the feel-good neurotransmitter, dopamine plays a critical role in our brain's reward system. When you achieve something, no matter how small, your brain releases a rush of dopamine, creating that fleeting sense of joy. But here's the catch. Our brains are designed to maintain balance, a state called homeostasis. So, after that initial rush, dopamine levels drop, and the excitement fades. This is why even the most thrilling experiences eventually lose their sparkle. Studies also reveal that genetics play a significant role in happiness. According to the set point theory, about 50% of our happiness is determined by our genetic baseline, with only 10% influenced by external circumstances. The remaining 40%? That's shaped by our actions and mindset. What these findings reveal is powerful. While we may be wired to adapt, we're not entirely at the mercy of our biology. With the right habits and mindset, It's possible to create a happiness that lasts. But the bad news is that modern life isn't doing us any favors. In today's world, we're bombarded with messages that promise happiness is just one step away. A new phone, a trendy outfit, or the perfect vacation, all marketed as the key to fulfillment. But this relentless focus on materialism only fuels the hedonic treadmill. Take consumer culture, for instance. Advertisements are designed to create dissatisfaction, convincing us that we need more to be happy. Yet, once we buy into these promises, the satisfaction is short-lived, and we're left chasing the next product, the next upgrade. And then there's social media, a 24/7 comparison machine. Every scroll shows curated highlights of other people's lives, their achievements, vacations, and seemingly endless joy. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, why isn't my life like that? But what we're really seeing is a polished illusion, not the full reality. These modern forces keep us running on the treadmill, believing that happiness comes from external achievements and possessions. But in truth, this cycle is designed to keep us unsatisfied, because dissatisfaction drives consumerism and engagement. And now we come to the most important question. If society traps us on the treadmill, how do we step off? The answer might be simpler than you think. Stop chasing happiness. That's right. The harder you pursue it, the more elusive it becomes. Instead, rethink happiness altogether. Let's break it down. First, stop pursuing happiness as a direct objective. The pursuit of happiness is what keeps it elusive. Focus instead on building a meaningful life, and happiness will find you. Happiness should be seen as a natural result of living in alignment with your values, purpose, and meaningful relationships, not something to chase directly. Second, embrace the idea of good enough. We live in a culture that glorifies perfection. The perfect job, the perfect partner, the perfect life. But this obsession with more leaves us exhausted and unfulfilled. Here's the secret. Satisfaction often comes from wanting less, not more. Learning to appreciate good enough can bring a peace that endless striving never will. Third, shift from consumption to contribution. Society tells us to consume, to buy more, achieve more, and acquire more. But true happiness doesn't come from what you get. It comes from what you give. Whether it's helping someone in need, creating something meaningful, or contributing to a cause you care about, acts of kindness create a deeper and more lasting joy than any material possession ever could. Fourth, accept the paradox of happiness. Happiness isn't a constant state. Life is full of highs and lows, and resisting the lows only makes them harder to bear. Instead of chasing endless joy, aim for wholeness, a life where all emotions, even sadness and frustration, have their place. Fifth, focus on building a resilient inner world. The outside world is unpredictable, but your inner world doesn't have to be. Practices like mindfulness and gratitude can shift your focus from what's missing to what's already here. By grounding yourself in the present, you create a sense of peace that external circumstances can't shake. Sixth, seek out novelty and growth. One reason happiness fades is that our minds adapt to routine. To keep life fulfilling, introduce variety. Learn a new skill, take on a challenge, or explore a new place. Growth and novelty keep your mind engaged and your spirit alive, disrupting the monotony that feeds the hedonic treadmill. Finally, think long-term. Happiness isn't about fleeting highs. It's about building a meaningful life over time. The most fulfilling rewards don't come from quick fixes, but from consistent, intentional effort. Invest in your relationships, pursue your passions, and create a life that reflects your values. Happiness may always feel fleeting, but by redefining it, you can create a life of deeper meaning and fulfillment. The treadmill doesn't stop unless you choose to step off.